Alright, today I want to go over my swing trade on the ticker RGBP, but before I get into that, I just want to go over this pattern that I've been looking for recently. Um, Basically, I've been calling it the OTC long-term swing. So I just want to draw it out and illustrate it very plainly to show what I've been looking for. So the idea behind this trade is that we get a big multi-week run. So let's say we start here, we run, pull back, hold up, go on another run. Let's just say this was maybe a month. Goes on a big run, starts to come down, and fades back to the initial breakout levels. Maybe a little lower, higher, it's not a perfect science. And then we get a long-term base. Maybe a few pops in there, but more often than not, it's basing around a key level, which in this case is right down here. And then eventually we start to re-spike, but this spike might be more significant because we might start to see more volume on these spikes compared to maybe small volume across this time frame. And keep in mind too that these initial spikes had big volume bars in here. So volume is very important too. So what I start to do is I'll start to build into this trade looking for breakouts of minor breakout highs as it's setting these higher lows. So a minor breakout level for me could be maybe this top right here. If we draw a line across, I might say when we start to hold a higher low up here and break, I'll buy it right here as long as there's increased volume. And then the idea has been to hold for maybe 1 day all the way up to 10 days, because in some scenarios they've gone even higher. But other scenarios they might spike here and then fade back down. But I just wanted to explain this in simple terms with a simple chart of what I've been seeing. But to actually get into it now, I want to go over a few of the charts that made me start looking for this pattern. So the first one I want to go over was fill. And if we look at this chart, we see that framework where we had that initial run for multi-days starting down here, sub 1 penny. We had some really nice volume. Then we came right back down to the breakout level, based for just about 4 months, started perking in here on volume, holding higher lows, and then had that minor breakout right here, and continued for many days to go on a nice run. Now, if I played this, maybe I would have been selling into these pushes here and then rebuying. But this is the idea of what I'm looking for. Not only that, but also NSAV did the same thing. Had a nice run here with good volume, starting under a penny. Came down and based for a while. For a few months, spiked up on volume, higher lows, spiked up on even more volume, higher lows, and then a great breakout. Even DPLS did the same thing. Let me just zoom in here. We had the initial run on a lot of volume, came down base, started to hold higher lows, broke out right here, and this would have been a great buy at 0.025 for it to go on a big run. TSOI was another, just to get another view. This one, for me, is still in play if we hold higher lows and maybe go for another move. Maybe we see breakout above 17 cents up here. And then the one I wanted to go over, which was the one I eventually played after seeing all these examples, was RGBP. This one was a huge runner, huge volume, and a big move earlier in the year. And we came down and we had this clear base here around 1.2 cents. We had a few pops along the trend, but nothing really holding its gains with spike downtrend. But right here, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days were interesting because we were uptrending with a little bit of above average volume. And then once we held this higher low right here, I was interested and I started buying actually this day and cut it. And then the next day when it held up, I was buying it at 0.0276. I held all of this day, next day, and then into Monday, which is today, and sold. So on an intraday chart, on the entry day, I was buying right here in the morning. I got a really good entry after it dipped and held green. I was buying 0.0276. And the key with this was I had a very wide risk. I bought 100,000 shares and I was risking 2 cents. Because I had conviction by looking at the previous plays where this happened, and I said I'll have a wide risk and see how far it could go. So it ended up getting some volume, continuing the spike for 2 days, and I sold into the morning push today for a nice solid gain. And that gain was just over 1400. And just to go over one more, oh sorry, not this one, ILUS. This is a very similar chart to what I've shown this video. We have the big multi-week run, the fade, big fade here, but looks like it's double bottomed here now. It's been kind of in this downtrend, base, choppy action, but the key for me was this increased volume last week and the ability to run for multiple days, basically doubling off the lows. And then once we started to hold higher lows and consolidate really well, I got interested. And today I bought this one at 0.0823, and I'm currently still holding those 50,000 shares overnight. So I'm looking for the same thing on this one as RGBP, hoping that it holds up, keeps going higher. And this has been the trend of what I've been seeing recently in the OTCs. The market's been slow intraday, but if you zoom out and look on a longer picture time frame on daily charts and weekly charts, you could start to see this new trend forming of the long-term OTC swing. So hopefully this one works out, higher better. If we break over 10 cents, I'll be selling into the spike along the way. And I hope this video helps, and I hope people start to see this new big picture type of setup.